All right, here we are, another morning. It is cold, and I am once again leaving the house a little later than I'm used to, but I always have to say I am not late. I am just leaving the house later than I'm used to. I'm used to getting here at or about this time, which puts me well over an hour early every day. But here lately, my ability to sleep or to wake up should be the question. My ability to wake up waxes and wanes, and I'm starting to wonder if maybe the seasons have a bit to do with it as well. But sometimes, so I set my alarm to have me wake up at 5 a.m. every morning, and that is the goal. And I'll go for a good long while waking up at 5 a.m. and not necessarily having any issues on the matter. And then I should really get gas this morning, which is just going to make me that much more behind schedule because I'm already trying to fiddle with the fact that I'm leaving later than I like to leave, and now I'm getting gas, but whatever. Anywho, waking up, yes. So there is times where I wake up bright and early at 5 a.m. I'm ready to go and ready to chomp at the bit to do what needs to be done. And then there are times like this week here where I just cannot seem to get moving at all, and more often than not will skip all the way through my alarms at 5 a.m. and wake up at 6 or 6:30. And here lately it's been 6 or 6:30, and those weeks are a little rough in that I like to start my days earlier than that, and I have a whole routine, and so I can geez Louise, I can't think apparently. I can I like to wake up at 5 a.m. I like to watch an episode of a cartoon from my childhood to get my mind in the right mindset for the day. And of course I like to enjoy a decently well-prepared breakfast, and with any luck I'll be able to do some writing in the morning before I start my day as well, because that early morning time tends to be my most productive time. And if it's consumed with getting ready for work, then it's more or less wasted. If my most productive hours are getting ready for work and then of course going to work, it's a big old waste of time. Pulling into the gas station now. I've never had the camera on at the gas station before, so this will be a first for me. And honestly, I'll probably just stand in front of the camera so that you guys can't see me, or that they can't see you. Whomever, somebody can't see somebody. Gotta figure out what I'm gonna do with my microphone. But yes, do I have my wallet? I do. Alright, turn the car off, get the keys. Oh lordy. Oh, I parked real close to the pump this time. I tried to do that a lot. But at any rate, talking about getting up, being productive, but yeah, it just feels like a big old waste of my time to be as productive as I am, or to waste my max productivity times with getting ready for work, and then of course going to work. That's always why I preferred those evening hours, and trying my darndest to wake up and be productive for myself before I wake up and be productive for work or other people. But it's just weird how my schedule seems to wax and wane, and that sometimes it's very difficult for me to... The advertisements on this gas station pump are about to start, so I'm not gonna try and talk over them. That is one of the most annoying things about this modern age, is you cannot escape advertisements, and I can't pump gas without somebody trying to sell me something. And that's very annoying. I was going to say it was a bit annoying, but no, it's very annoying. And then there's the general concept of YouTube now. I for years had an ad blocker on YouTube, and I watched YouTube and I never had to worry about ads, and it was wonderful. But YouTube just recently did a thing where they're like, hey, we don't allow ad blockers on our channel, and so if you don't disable your ad blocker, we will disable you. And I was like, well, I'm not in any mood to rebel against YouTube just yet. After all, I'm creating content on there and trying to become a successful something on YouTube. And so when I consider those things, like, I probably shouldn't rebel against it. But to the same end, like, watching YouTube now feels just like watching TV, in that you get a couple minutes of content, and then you get a couple minutes of advertisements, and then a couple minutes of content, and a couple minutes of advertisements, and it just no longer feels like YouTube. And YouTube Alright, we're back. I lost connection with my mic at some point in time, and I don't really know when that happened, and unfortunately I'm driving as I film these, so it's not easy for me to fix things on the fly, but it is good that I check up on you guys every now and again. I did something interesting this morning in that I stopped and got gas, which is something you guys don't often get to see. I hope that you got to hear all that I had to talk about while I was out there doing that. It seems like anytime I leave the car and come back, that is when I lose my my connection to the mic. I know I left the car a couple videos back to go grab that thing off the porch, and when I came back, I noticed you guys couldn't hear me anymore. So I'll have to be more conscious to look at that whenever I'm leaving the car. But to the same end, like, it's nice to be able to take you guys places where you don't get to go all the time. Like, you guys get to see my commute to work every day, and you guys get to see my commute home every day. And hopefully it's the conversations that we're having that makes that less mundane and less routine. But anything I can do to break up the monotony on my end, I will most certainly do. I'm hoping to get like a cool like stealth camera, in that I can then start taking you guys places that I wouldn't normally take you. Like, I know I model a lot of my content. I don't model a lot of my content. I hate saying that, but I was inspired by Sam Sulek and his legitimate, authentic kind of broken down YouTube approach in that I've always appreciated YouTube videos more so like that than I have YouTube videos that are just high energy, high strung, and we're just gonna pump you up full of fast cuts and give you everything you need. But to the same end, like, YouTube is a business, and I'm using it to grow my own business, and so it would be dumb for me to not follow the business rules set forth by YouTube. Now, the fortunate thing for me is it seems like we're in a shift now where the content that I would more like to make is actually making a splash in the YouTube world. And like, honestly, even if it's just a niche thing, if there's only a couple 100,000 people in this world who want to watch videos like that, that's better than it once was, where I was convinced that videos like this would just get thrown to the wayside. And so I appreciate him for showing me that. I watch a lot of the Dry Creek Wrangler School. I think he's really legitimate, and he does a lot of cool videos. And it's the same kind of vein. Like, he's not got this major overhaul of a production value. It's just like a man talking about life, and that's what I hope to capture on, and my thoughts and opinions on things. And honestly, these conversations can and oftentimes do go anywhere, so you really never know where we're going to wind up. But what I was talking to you all about before my microphone was so unceremoniously disconnected was like the wonders of YouTube. And I apologize if I'm repeating myself, because like I said, I don't know when the mic stopped picking me up and when you all stopped hearing me. But essentially, like, you have to go back and you have to appreciate like what YouTube is. Like, I have no idea who invented YouTube, but it's essentially like its own internet television station. And like, that's a very big feat for YouTube. And it's a television station, but it isn't a television station. Like, traditional television stations have a broadcast schedule. And so, you know, at 8 o'clock, Modern Family is going to play, and at 10 o'clock, Teen Titans is going to play, and at 11 o'clock, Attack on Titan is going to play. And what a cool channel that would be, am I right? Anyway, they have those schedules that you can follow, but they also only have like so many shows that air at any given point in time. And I think YouTube kind of opened the door for streaming services, because like, YouTube was here before the big streaming revolution, and I feel like Netflix very much so like led that charge. But who now has more streaming services than most? And that's just these regular everyday broadcasting stations. Like, CBS has a streaming station, Peacock has a streaming station, HBO has a big streaming station. And so it's like, you get to this point now where we are now, and like, instead of television in the traditional sense, you just subscribe to CBS and you watch what shows you want to watch at your leisure. And I think convenience rules the world. I have always said that. It comes down to convenience, and a mass majority of people are going to do what is more convenient for them. And what is more convenient for them is being able to watch a show whenever they want, whenever it's convenient for them, instead of having to wait until 8 o'clock at night to watch The Big Bang Theory. And it's interesting in that it has had a wholehearted like effect on television and how television is produced, how it's recorded, how it's put together. And it's just interesting looking at the social impact of all of these things. Like, earlier this year, actually, I watched through the entirety of Boy Meets World, which was a TV show in the 90s that I was too young to watch when it was airing, but I caught it in syndication from time to time when I was younger. And for whatever reason, I saw this advertisement on YouTube about the most emotional moments in that show, and then that inspired me to go out and buy the DVDs and see what it had to offer. And so I watched through it, And I took my time with it. That's another thing. Like, when I watch through TV shows or whatever, I don't just binge watch them and be done in like an hour, because that really sucks the life out of the show for me. And so, like, I would only allow myself to watch new episodes on the weekend, and then I would watch syndication throughout the week, and then eventually I would, of course, just try and, as I watched through the weekends, I would change through the seasons or whatever. And so it took me a solid, like, probably 5 months to get through that show in its entirety. And so, like, I'm totally okay with that. It helped the experience. But the thing that was wild to me to think about, and to think about how consumption of TV has changed. So that show took 7 years to air. It took them 7 years to film it in its entirety from start to finish, and I finished it in a matter of 5 months. And like, that is huge when you consider, like, the people who grew up watching that show had to wait every week to see what was going to happen next. Whereas me, I could do it whenever I wanted to. I made myself wait till weekends just to preserve the allure of the show. But to the same end, like, I got through 7 seasons, 7 years worth of content in 5 months. And that was just mind-boggling to me. And it goes to show, like, how the consumption of television has changed and how the presentation of television has changed. Like, look at Stranger Things, one of the biggest modern television series. And and I think maybe they changed it to be back to a weekly release, but I feel like when it first came out, or maybe seasons 2 and 3, were like, they released the whole thing and you could watch at your pace, and that kind of kills it, because a lot of people will watch in one setting the entire show. And especially, like, if you're a YouTube, like, reviewer or something, you want to be the first person to get your video up so that your opinion is the first opinion that everyone's hearing. So you're going to go binge Stranger Things for however long that runtime is, watch the whole thing, and then never come back to it. And it kind of feels like a disservice to the show. Like, yeah, they're only producing 5 hours worth of content, so like you're experiencing the same hours worth of content regardless of how you choose to watch it. But to the same end, like, it feels like the show lasted longer if you're watching it an hour at a time, a week at a time, as opposed to 5 hours all in one shot. It just feels like the show had more time to breathe and affect you as a person. You had more time to reflect on the show. And so for me, like, I'm all for taking my time when getting through a show. Now, generally speaking, I still buy DVDs. I'm old-fashioned like that. And so I usually do not get into a show until it is completed so that I can watch it on my own time. But I also don't rush through it and just, like, bang through and watch the show and be done with it in a week or whatever. Like, right now I'm working my way through Happy Days, and a big reason why I picked that show up is because a lot of people compared Happy Days and Boy Meets World. A lot of people said that Boy Meets World was like the 90s equivalent to Happy Days. I can absolutely see where those comparisons come from. Happy Days is fun. I have a good time with it too. But I don't know that I would say that they are like the equivalent to each other. They are definitely... like I said, I can see where the comparisons come from, and there's a lot of plots from Happy Days that feel like they were plugged from Happy Days and put into Boy Meets World, and that's probably a big reason why people say that. And I feel like I watched a lot of like videos and stuff about Boy Meets World when I was going through that, and I feel like Michael Jacobs, the producer, even said that like that was a strong influence. He's like, he didn't want people to necessarily completely associate his show with Happy Days and just have it be the Happy Days of the 90s, but to the same end, like it sounds like that's what the stigma that it got. And so going back and watching Happy Days, I can see how it got that stigma. And so all in all, it's just an interesting thing to step back and see how YouTube has changed the game and how YouTube itself has changed. Like when YouTube first came out, it was more or less people just uploading home videos. Like there was zero production value there. And if you ran into something with production value, that was like the rarity. And it was like, wow, this person actually put like a legit project together. But most of it was just people sharing dumb stuff. And like as an older person, I'm not old, but as a person who's seen more YouTube than other people out there, I can't help but be like, man, those were the days when YouTube was fun. Like I was excited to get home and fire up YouTube and see what it had to offer, but I also didn't do that very often. Like now YouTube helps you find stuff to watch, and it's been doing that for years. But like back in the day, like it was like an isolated incident. Like I would be like, oh, I feel like going on YouTube and seeing what it has to offer. And like the other thing about YouTube that's weird for me is like I lived with my parents for a very long time, and they had dial-up internet until like 2010, and because they live out in the boonies, and so I couldn't really even watch YouTube like seriously until 2010, and then by that time I had already kind of like missed the good years, so to speak. Like I can remember my folks had satellite internet in 2008 because that was when the first Left 4 Dead game came out. And so, but the satellite internet had horrible restrictions, and if you used too much of your data, they would knock you back to dial-up speed. But they had this free to play or free data free zone from 3 in the morning until 5 in the morning. And so what I would do is I would wake up at 3 in the morning and play Left 4 Dead until 5 in the morning, which was the only time I could really do any online gaming without being knocked down to dial-up speed. And I remember this because like sometimes if I just wasn't in the mood for Left 4 Dead or something, I might fire up YouTube and see what's going on in that neck of the woods as well, because YouTube, although it was not nearly as much of a data suck as Left 4 Dead was, it was a data suck in its own right. And so it wasn't often that I would fire it up and just watch. I would more often than not just not. And so that was always kind of an interesting thing about, like, I have all these memories of like YouTube in this early going years, but to the same end, I'm like, I don't feel like I really watched it until after it had been around for a while. I think it started in 2005, and like I definitely wasn't watching it then. It was like the late 2000s before I finally was introduced to YouTube, and it was maybe like, I bet you it was probably 2007 or 8 or so when I finally got into it and started watching it. And then of course when the internet got better, that helped as well. But it's interesting seeing something that impacts society so much and like how it's evolved over the years. And like technology changes so fast now, and I try to think of something like as impactful in the world as like the internet. And like, I don't know, I'm bad with comparisons like that, but like maybe the automobile was a big deal. Well, I shouldn't say maybe it was a big deal. I know the automobile was a big deal, but like, are they comparable big deals? I don't know. But like, can you imagine being someone who was maybe, well, because like when the internet came out, I was like 10. And so imagine someone being like 10 when cars first came out. And then when they grew to adulthood, how many advancements in like the car world would they have seen between the ages of 10 and where they were like and in their 40s or whatever. And so it's just interesting for me to try and picture it from like their perspective. Like, YouTube is a big deal and has changed a lot over the years and has created a lot of awesome opportunities for people. It's created its own job market, which is honestly kind of baffling. Like, how many things create themselves and then create their own job market through that? And like, there's a lot of business opportunities. Like, someone was talking about, like, Mr. Beast apparently owns like a bunch of companies and stuff, and he's got over 100 employees, and that's just wild to me. Like, this man started a business off of internet video, and it's cool and it's awesome. There's some crappy stuff there. There's some politics with everything, and there's business with everything that kind of ruins things in their own right. But it's important to not just judge it for those things, and to understand that it's more than that, and that it is a very cool and powerful tool that we can use to our benefit. But we should just be weary of the things we do or don't like about it. That concludes our commune this morning. Hope you guys had a good one, and whenever you're watching this, I hope you have a good rest of your day. I have a busy one ahead of me.